Hey guys, good evening. It's Robert Hansen. Welcome. It's this beautiful, beautiful fall evening here in November. Tonight we're doing an open chat. The conversation this evening is on love and the loss of love. Big topic, very sensitive topic. Probably every human being on planet Earth has at some point experienced loss on some level of a loved one. I'm not just talking about the loss in terms of a grief or a death loss, but someone who entered into your life and is now absent from your life, and also about the process of what is love, falling in love, maintaining a loving relationship. So that's what we're going to look at tonight, up close and personal. And for those of you that are joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Robert Hansen. We share these Facebook Lives through the fall, winter, spring season on Friday evenings at 7:30. So if you like, sit back and relax for the next 45 minutes to an hour, and we're going to chat a little bit. If you feel you'd like to invite a few friends, by all means, please invite them to come aboard and sit in and chat a little bit with us. All right? All right, so let's get rolling. We often hear, there's hundreds, if not thousands of songs written about love, romantic songs, in love, being in love, falling in love, breaking the heart of a loved person. There are movies, there are books, there are magazines, there are flyers. It just goes on and on and on. There are even organizations that help people to fall in love with another. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. These match sites, dating sites, meeting sites. It has become an international phenomenon, which really addresses and shows how so many people either feel incomplete in the love relationship they have, searching for someone else or something else, or they have never experienced a relationship intimately enough, emotionally, physically, psychologically, with another person, where they don't really get the whole idea of how people do fall in love. And then, of course, we have people that are frightened of falling in love. They just have seen around them other events, other people who have fallen in love, been in love, got married, got engaged, and in a short amount of time, those relationships have disintegrated. There is great harm, there is great pain, there is great suffering. So that's kind of the thumbnail of tonight. And once again, my name is Robert Hansen. Welcome. This is our opening portion of tonight's class. It's on love and the loss of love. So let's go there. One of the components that brings someone to searching for love, seeking love, is not just a biological need. The biology of the human animal is to procreate, is to have an intimacy with an opposite sex partner in which the life form will continue. That has been genetically implanted into every animal on this earth. But speaking of just human animals, the mammals, which is what we are, we all have a primal necessity, a primal need to search out, seek out some level of procreation. Within the female, this starts, of course, in prepubescence. It amps up a little bit when they hit the period, when menstruation begins, when they begin to flower, when the biology within the female is beginning to ripen. Her whole anatomy is beginning to prepare for it, the widening of the hips, the change in the breast tissue. All of this is beginning to form. For the young men as well, the testosterone is starting to amp up like a thermometer, and there is this huge push towards each other. And when that is consummated, regardless of the age or the time, this is not the dark ages today. It seems that many young people have intimacy prior to marriage. Many people maintain intimacy and never getting married and seem to thrive. So we're not talking about marriage love at this moment, but we'll look into it in a little bit. But what happens is, in those relationships, which are driven often by lust, by the newness of it, by the excitement of it, by the thrill of it, by the venturing into a brand new territory with different people, different experiences. Many times people will say, I have fallen in love with that person. I'm sure you've said it yourself. I'm sure we've all said it at some point way back when we're teenagers or young adults. So I love Mary, I love Anne Marie, I love somebody because I had some kind of a relationship with them, and it amps up my love feelings. It increases my endorphins. I'm looking forward to the next time that we engage in this. And over a period of time, usually very rapidly, those feelings, quote unquote, of what we call love seem to be on the table, to the point where some people run away, they get married at the little white church in Las Vegas, they just disappear, they elope, they run away from somebody, and they go get married. The family comes back and says, what did you do? Well, I love him. And the parents say, are you kidding me? You're 16 years old, 17 years old. You can't be in love with this guy. It's not possible, because they're using their experience, which is a little bit more understanding of what love is and is not, to say to their loved one, this is not for you. You're way too young to grasp any of the consequences of this behavior. We are discouraging this relationship from going forward. And of course, the teenager on the other side says, the heck with you. I'm going to push it. I'll run away from home. I'm going to jump in the car and leave if you don't let me do what I want. I think a lot of you either have done that or have experienced it on some level, right? It's not unusual. But that is not love, as we know. That is sexual drive. That is lust itself. That is the drive of the anatomy of the human being, which comes under the banner of love, right? We also have what we call conditioned love, meaning that we are expected to fall in love. We have been taught, with little ladies, of course, you grow up and you talk about marrying the man of my dreams. Or the guy might say, I want to marry the woman of my dreams, my fantasy girl, the girl of my wildest imagination. I have finally met her. I have finally been introduced to her. I am gaga. There's, the pounding in the chest, the palms get sweaty, you can't talk. All of the natural responses, which are a combination of excitement and fear. I mean, when you commit yourself openly and completely to a feeling, it can be a little frightening, because you kind of lose control in there, don't you? Right? When you really, quote, fall in love. And that's a word that we often hear in our society. Someone has fallen in love. And when you fall into something, it means it's almost like going into a well, fall into the river, fall off a mountain. And we talk about this falling. And if you fall far enough and deep enough, the result is typically damaging. So many times in spiritual work, and I'm sure some of you probably who have listened in over the time with me and perhaps have been here before, we talk about rising in love, this idea of letting love lift you rather than having you plummet or having you fall. We've all seen it. I mean, we've all seen it. We've seen teenagers, they become starry-eyed. Young adults become starry-eyed. They're running around. They have every 5 minutes they're on the phone. They're texting throughout the day. They got pictures everywhere. They have bracelets. They have tattoos. They do everything to ritualize this process of love, right? And they will tell you up and down all around, I am in love, L-O-V-E, right? And then you get people who are in a relationship, it doesn't work out, their idea of love is not what really has come to pass, and they become very, very disappointed in that feeling. They feel personally fooled, they feel personally tricked. How did my emotions, how did my reactions, how did all of this love suddenly evaporate or shift from one thing into another, or I no longer feel that passion, I no longer feel that enthusiasm, I no longer have that vibration, I don't look forward to the event anymore. You start to distance oneself away, and one of the ways of distancing, of course, is obviously through physical space and time, not answering the phone, avoiding the text, I'm always busy, I'm not up tonight, I feel sick, I don't feel good, I want to go away. We start to create these barriers between us and the other, right? Even in situations where you're living together in the same home, one goes in one room, one goes in the other room, there's a separation to kind of have a cooling off period, to kind of reassess it, that whole bit, So all of these things we have to kind of look at a little bit more closely. So now we're going to get into it on a much more focused level. Why do people fall in love? In love. I mean, why do they fall in love? And if we really look at it closely, true love cannot be manufactured. True love cannot be found. It rises and is born on its own. It happens in a spontaneous, natural way on its own. It is not something that one can make happen. I alluded to it a few minutes ago. What most people do, what most people I've met, and I have met thousands upon thousands of people in my work who have come to me with broken hearts over their relationships. And I'm not suggesting to you guys or to me alone that I have immune from any of these pitfalls and downfalls. We have all come to this place because we have had relationships throughout our lives that have let us down, that have left us frustrated, that left us disappointed, and we in turn have done that to others too. You know, it's not just us feeling the effects of them. They also feel the effects of us, right? Because what happens is most people fall in love with the idea, please listen to this, they fall in love with the concept of what love is supposed to be. And they pursue that idea of what love is supposed to look like. Now, where does that idea come from? Where are those ideas born from? Who put that in your head? Who gave you this whole psychological approach? Well, it starts, of course, in the early years, where you are going to weddings and you're the flower girl, or you're the little guy that's giving the ring to the groom, or you're going to weddings and you're seeing people celebrate, and little persons are watching and they're seeing what appears to be happy times and great marriages, and they're hearing about the honeymoons and the limousines and the pictures coming back, and everybody's tan with flowers on their neck from Hawaii, for example. It's all going great. They often don't see the years that follow, where the disappointment and sickness and challenges and money, all of those things begin to factor in, right? So people fundamentally, even when they're little, they grow up following a certain idea. If they don't get it from their family, right? Let's say the parents are really in friction. They've only seen discomfort growing up. They've only seen violence. They've only seen arguments. They've seen constant disconnection. They've seen the mother move away. They've seen the father move away. They've seen all kinds of trouble in the house. Their image or their idea of love, of course, is now very twisted. It's kind of dwarfed in a way that it's not really a clear indication of what love is. But to them, it is love, because that's the only basis they have. And they want to believe that their birth, the result of love, has created that child, right? A love child, a child born out of love, not the typical love child, you know what I'm talking about, that's born out of just a spontaneous sex relationship, which is called a love child, right on the street. I'm not referring to that. I'm talking about a child that says, my mom and dad had me because they really wanted me, they really loved me, I am here because of their love, I am the result of that union, and that is what I am so happy to be a part of. And yet when they grow up, they experience discord, they experience fighting, they experience friction, they experience cursing and yelling and pushing, and in some terrible cases, violence. So their distortion of love is now very confused, right? So that as they get of age a little bit, they begin now to notice TV shows, or they're watching something online, or they're going to Google, or they're going to dating sites, so they're beginning to look at other interpretations of love. And they begin to see the commercials on TV and how women become more attractive to attract the men, from eyelashes to perfume, to manner of dress, to body appearance, to their teeth, the way we speak, the way we talk. They try to take on the personality of another, almost like a chameleon. And they say in their heads, if I can become like that gal I see on TV, I too will draw in men like she's getting on this TV show. And conversely, the men do the same thing. You know, they see the macho man, the muscles, the guy from the gym, the guy with the Corvette, the big sports car, the guy flashing money, the guy that seems to have the $1 million smile, has got a high rise in the city, looking out over city lights, and they're sitting back with their feet up with soundtracks on and a glass of wine. And it's very romantic. And it comes across very, very, very seductive. And it is. It appeals to this feel that, that's what I want to have in my love relationship. I want these things. And one begins to pursue the idea of that type of love. That type of love. And they wind up searching Now, when you're searching, you're looking for a specific type. When I go to a used car lot, for example, and I have in my head, I want to find a Toyota four-wheel cruiser. That's what I'm looking for. I'm walking past the Chevys, I'm walking past the Fords, I'm walking past the Corvettes, I'm walking past the Volkswagens, and I'm only looking for this type of a car. And I see the car that I want, but it's got a nick here, it's got a ding there, it's got a dent over there, it's got a little high mileage. But I really want it. You know, I really want it. So maybe I will overlook those defects. Maybe I'll overlook them. And perhaps over time I can fix them and get them cleaned up a little bit, and I'll purchase the car because it has kind of what I'm looking for, right? So that's one type of a personality that will compromise, modify, adjust, diminish, quote, the requirements of offering one's love to another with the idea that they in turn will respond back, and there will be some kind of a mutual relationship that is born by both kind of accepting each other as we are, right? That's kind of the idea. On the other side, of course, you have people that say, I am very specific, I am very picky, I know exactly what kind of girl I want, I know exactly kind of a man I want, I am not changing my attitude, I will never marry until I find Mr. Right. And Mr. Right has to be someone that fulfills a laundry list of expectations. Intelligent, powerful, never gets old, a lot of money, very bright, a complete virile adult. This guy looks like a combination of Channing Tatum and two other guys, and maybe with that I will come and I will marry this guy because he provides to me what appeals to my head, right? What appeals to my head. Stay with me, please. This is commonly referred to as fantasy love or illusion of love. As all of you have heard, I'm sure, the word illusion means that you are experiencing something that is not real. You are experiencing something that is not real. So a friend taps you on the shoulder and says, do you see what I see with this guy? Every time you go to the bathroom, he's talking to 4 other women. You see what this woman is doing? Every time you go out to the car to get your cigarettes or something, this woman is going off dating and talking to, not dating, but talking to 3 other guys right behind your back in the restaurant. Oh, no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Right? Because they want very much to believe that their choice has been correct. Right? And especially if there's been intimacy in that choice, and perpetual intimacy especially, where the word love is shared in the moment of the evening, and it's, you know, during the passion of the night or whatever, I love you, yes, I love you, all that kind of stuff. And it sets a tone within the biology of the female. Because what a woman does, which is something that she has been born to do, it is in her, in the human anatomy of the female, to try to find the best companion from which to procreate. Procreate. That has been altered now because the woman has been taught not to worry about the best partner for procreation, to develop a healthy offspring. The woman is driven now more by the fact of security and safety and stability. And that is something that shifts over time. In very unusual, extraordinary early marriage relationships, you know, in the early years, to have a secure, stable, affectionate, loving, long-term 40, 50, 60-year relationship that is genuinely loving, not one that is bound hand and foot by religious law, by parental law, by the sense of guilt, sticking it out, but every night you're drinking alcohol every night just to get past the evening, all of that kind of stuff. Don't be fooled by people that are married 50, 60, 70 years. Sure, there are those rare examples. I mean, they put them on television, for gosh sakes, on the news reports, how somebody lasted 60 years, and the guy's holding her hand, she's holding his hand, they're going cooing back and forth. They did fall in true love originally. And you'll hear these stories about people that have met for 2 or 3 days. They fell in love from their heart, which is often referred to in spiritual practice, psychic work, as the heart chakra. They were not pulled by the attractions of the mind. They were not. They were pulled by the pure essence of love itself. Some people call that agape, meaning it is a radiant, pure love. The closest thing that I can give you to that, for any of the women out there that have borne a child, especially the first one, right? The first child, is you have an experience of deep, total love beyond any words. If you ask a woman that's bore her first baby, or any baby for that matter, but let's go with the first one, what it was like to fall in love with that child as soon as that child exited her body, I assure you, she's going to say, I can't even describe it. I can't even put it into words. I can't. And yet, when it comes to writing letters to the spouse, writing letters to the husband, writing letters to the wife, that kind of a thing, they can. They can. When true love or pure love is on the table, it cannot be expressed in language. You can try. I mean, you can say, I love you very much. I love you very deeply. I want you to be happy. My world, you're my world. You're everything that you mean everything to me. And it sounds nice, but with inside the other, there's this laundry list. And they're saying, it sounds good, it sounds good, it sounds good, but these other things are not being fulfilled. Therefore, I cannot give you all of me because you have not given me all that I expect or all that I need or all I was believed that I was, quote, getting when I fell in love. Like the Cruiser, like the Toyota Cruiser. I thought I was getting a better car than this, and it turned out to be a piece of crap. It wasn't just a few dings on the roof. The motor was shot, and I didn't recognize it. I was so in love of getting the car, I never had the motor checked. I didn't spend the time. I didn't have it examined. I didn't have it looked at. I rushed, quote unquote, into the love of this truck. And the next thing you know, you're pulling your hair out of your head, literally, saying, what did I do? How the heck did I get myself into this problem? In so many cases, as you guys also know, there are little ones attached to that. And that creates a whole nother can of worms, right? So when one speaks about falling in love with another, when someone speaks about finding love in somebody, looking for love in somebody. I had a person come see me over the last month or so at my office, and that's her quest. She's in her mid-40s, has never had a significant relationship, has been engaged two or three times to two or three different people. And I politely said, you've been engaged 2 or 3 times and still unmarried. And she was coming up on person number 4 that she came to see me about. And she asked me, why do I keep failing at these relationships? Right? I said, it's not a matter of failing. They're sensing, the men are sensing something within you, which is more of a neediness, a wanting, a fulfillment that has to be met. And it backs them up. And this is true, of course, in reverse as well. There are men that say, I've dated these different women, I'm going out with this girl, and then she broke up with me, and then I find another. And they wind up attaching themselves to a single female, leaving flowers, doing this, doing that. It almost becomes, they become obsessed with connecting to that person. So what is it in the human being, male and female both, that make us feel this neediness, this urgency to be completed by another? What is this? Where did this come from? This whole approach psychologically that we need the other to fulfill us, right? And I read in my own posts and my own Facebook posts over the last couple of weeks, people have said that this particular person has to fall in love with themselves. It all has to begin with self-love. It all has to begin with self-love. You have to look in the mirror and love that person very much. Right? A lot of people make these claims. And if you're truly honest, when someone is completely in love with themselves, I mean, totally, not in a sense of being narcissistic. I'm not talking about a sense of vanity. I'm not referring to that. True love of oneself means there is no judgment, there is no opinion, there is no nothing. I just move as I am naturally in this beautiful place called Earth. You move naturally, and you are settled internally within yourself naturally. You completely feel at ease within yourself. And when others around you feel that, it draws them in. Not just from an appearance point of view, right? You may not be that personally attractive looking, but they sense there's something deep within you that is settled, that is genuine, that is sincere, that is, quote, honest, that is not rattled very easily, and is very comfortable with or without. With or without a car, with or without a lot of money, with or without a relationship, with or without applause. They just seem to have that settled down, salt of the earth kind of feeling. And for many people, that's what draws them in. That person who is settled responds to another of a similar vibration. Thus the expression, birds of a feather flock together. Birds of a feather flock together, right? So what is it that this human being is constantly seeking, constantly looking for in what we refer to as a love relationship? And if you really listen and you really look, you're going to see it. And I talked about it just a moment ago, and I want to get into this a little deeper. It's about feeling secure. How does one feel secure? Because someone says, you are valuable to me. I want you. I will take care of you. I will protect you. I will provide family to you. I will give you my complete being as I know it. I hope you can do the same back for me. And we will begin from there. And that's most people. I mean, let's be out there. That's very, very, very high percentage of people that come from that place. And that is the norm. It just is. And people get engaged, people get married, take honeymoons and all that stuff like we discussed a moment ago, and they get a little house on the prairie and off they go. And as all of you know, just about every other home in this country and other places around the world, it breaks apart. It does. And the reason because is that the needs, the demands shift. Skin gets wrinkled, someone gets a leg amputated, someone gets very sick, someone loses a job, someone loses a lot of money, someone falls off and hurts themselves in some way and they can't come back and dance the way they used to, whatever it is. And the other now starts to feel incomplete, unwhole. And they begin to take on the persona that that person in some way has let them down, has diminished that relationship because of the way they are. They are not acting according to the contract in my heart that you promised 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 15 hours ago. They do not feel that that contract is being met. So what happens is rather than just seeing it as the normal evolution of that person, right? The normal evolution of that person, they begin to judge it. And they're coming from a place of judgment internally, which is based on their own inner weakness, their own insecurity, and on and on and on. It gives them a cause to leave. Because they say, that woman or that guy, that woman is not fulfilling what I thought. When I married her at the age of 28, she was 120 pounds. She was 5'10", big lanky model or something. I fell in love with her. I saw her on a runway someplace at some show, and I'm gaga over her. Now it's 10 years later. She's 5'9". She came down a little bit, and she's 50, 60 pounds heavier. She's out of shape. The heck that we had 3 kids. Forget about that. The fact that she's up around the clock trying to take care of my family. Forget about that. And the fact that she's got a full-time job. Forget about all that. It just doesn't matter to me. I have to have my thing fulfilled. Right? I need to have fulfilled. My fantasy has to be fulfilled. My illusion has to be pursued. It does. And that causes great, great pain. Please understand, when there is an absence of true love, there's always great suffering. Always. It doesn't matter who you are, where you go, what you do. When there is a sense of the pursuit of the idea of love, eventually that idea will be threatened. In threatening that idea, in the threatening of that idea, that wobble feeling starts to take place, many people amp up, and it began when you first held hands for the first time. People become attached attached to what they love. I want to make this extremely clear to everybody, okay? When there is true love, there is no attachment. None. That is why it is very, very rare. It really is very rare. I want to talk about my own children for a minute, right? I have 4 children. I use the language all the time. I love you very much. I write it down to them in a little night text before they go home. I love you very much. I tell that to my wife. I tell that to my children. I tell that to my pets. I love you very much, right? I watch football. I love football. My New York Jets won the other night. I love football. I use the same word to describe my feeling of the Jets that I use for my kids. What separates it? People will say, yeah, but that's a different kind of love. No, it's not. No, it's not. If the Jets win, I feel fulfilled. They give me a sense of completion. They make me say to myself, for the next week, I can talk about the win, and I'm not apologizing all week to my friends that are fans from the Dallas Cowboys or something, and I don't got to sit back. I can put my hands behind my head and say, you know what? My team won too. I feel fulfilled this week. I feel great. Right? Right? That's what happens. They lose the next week. I feel diminished. I feel less. My head drops. I feel sick to my stomach. I don't want to watch them. I'm disgusted. Here we go again. The same carousel is back on around that I've been doing since Joe Namath. And here we are again. And I'm back in the same cycle, the same loop, the same heartbreak. It is because a piece of me had attached to the dynamics of that team and what they've offered to me on a gut level, emotionally, to make me feel whole and complete. And coming from that club, of course, most of my time has been pretty miserable. I'm not here to talk about the Jets. I'm just trying to give you an analogy. With my children now, let's get there. I love my children very much, more than words can describe. I struggle to even put it into language. I can't do it. And I'm sure most of you, if you really are upfront with yourselves, you can say, I can't even describe how much I love my kids. Right? If you ask the average woman or the average guy, who do you love more, your children or your wife, they're either going to say one of two things. I love my kids more, or it's a different kind of love. They're not going to say, unless it's extremely rare, I love my husband more than my own children. It's very rare. I don't think I've ever heard it. I don't think I've ever heard it. So either A, I love my kids more than my husband, but I love my husband very much, but it's a different kind of love, right? Or I love my kids only and my husband and I just have a relationship. Something like that, right? So speaking of me regarding my own children, I love them very much. I do. I do. And growing up as little ones at my knee and in my home and raising them with my wife and the family and everybody was around, that love grew. You become connected to each other very, very much, right? On every sniffle, every cold, every graduation, every party, every scraped knee, every A on the report card, every F on the report card, whatever it is. You know, they get in trouble as teenagers. I'm there, disappointed, angry, blah, blah, blah. They do something great. I'm there applauding for them, kissing them, hugging them, and we move on. I think you all can identify with it, right? But the problem becomes within us, we begin to attach to them, which means I then feel a sense of control. I feel I have power over them. I can make decisions for them even as an adult, right? There's a difference between guidance and decision making for them. There's a difference. And I feel, and many people do, that somehow we have them as a possession. This is also very, very true with people who own our beautiful, our beloved pets. They say, that's my dog, that's my companion, right? It's mine, it's my dog, it's my cat, it's my bird, it's my son, right? It's mine. And no one can take that away from me. Because if you take it away from me, I will feel threatened. I will feel violated. I will feel heartbroken. I will feel damaged. I will feel incomplete. And mainly, I will feel very, very insecure. I will feel very unstable, which means, if you go back from a few minutes ago, we seek this loving idea to somehow take care of our sense of safety and this nagging sense of insecurity. And let's be upfront, okay, please. I don't care what kind of car you got, what kind of house you live in, how much muscles you got. It doesn't matter. Everybody, and I mean everybody, self included, have all dealt, and still do, with matters of being unsure, insecure, fragile from time to time. Let's put it out there, right? We all do. And when that feeling comes up, it makes us feel diminished, because you watch somebody on TV, perhaps one of our great U.S. Navy SEALs, you watch some football player, you watch somebody and they exude this overconfidence, you watch an actress that has apparently all this money and great fame, and she's got kids and she's always smiling on television and the whole bit, and I say, that's what I've been looking for, this is what I've been searching, which means you are rejecting yourself, the image of yourself, the one you see in the mirror. I don't want it. I don't like it. I have been deprived something by this lifetime, and therefore I don't really love myself. I am angry at myself, and I want to alter this to become what I believe is that, and when I become that, then I will be okay. Not really knowing anything about that except what you see on television or in the newspaper. That's it. You don't live in their house. You don't watch them go up and down the steps. You don't watch them cry to sleep at night. You don't see the drugs they may be taking. You don't see any of it. You just see what your mind is drawn to, what your mind says, that will complete me. And when there is this search for completion, it is loud and clear. It is born out of a sense of security and safety. You got it? Okay, so when we really are falling in love with someone, right? When you really fall in love with someone, it is extremely unusual, it is unusual that it is spontaneous, natural, and pure. Because we are all a result of conditioned thinking, points of view, and so on. That is why the word love it's almost difficult to talk about it. Some people go off and say, God is love, right? Some people use that quote. There are people that fall in love with the idea of the God of their understanding, right? People take vows in religious orders, and they say, I'm going right past the human being. I'm going to go right to the Supreme Being, and I will fall in love with that. My idea of this God, my idea of the saints, my idea of Krishna, my idea of the Buddha, whatever that idea might be, I have learned about through books. I have learned about it through the temples. I have learned about it through the ashrams. I have been taught to fall in love with this. And in this, I will feel whole and complete. In order to satisfy this loving demand, I will go to church, I will go to temple, I will do this, I will do that, I will do devotions, I will burn incense, and I will gain favor with the God of my understanding. So the God of my understanding will love me as I'm trying to show that I love he or she or whatever that is to you. Once again, based upon fragileness. Right? And there are people that fall in love with an object. They fall in love with their career. Everything is their career. Let's say they're a veterinarian, which is a great career, by the way, but let's say they're a veterinarian. I just use it. And they're totally work-driven, totally consumed. I don't have time for women. I don't have time for men. I don't want kids. I just want to do the dogs. I just want to do the cats. I want to take care of the horses. I want to be a Dr. Doolittle. I want to take care of the cows. And they really can become very fulfilled by it. Very fulfilled by it. Very fulfilled. Very whole, very complete, like that. And then something occurs where they maybe take a slip and fall and injure their head, and they don't have the same mental capacity they had. Perhaps they have an injury to their hands. They may lose a couple of fingers in an accidental lawnmower event or something, and they no longer can be a surgeon. And the very thing that they built their entire loving relationship with about self is now eliminated. And they fall back into this sense now of being incomplete, unsuccessful, failing at life because I don't feel in love with me. You see. Little helper hints here. The only place that you can fall in love, and I am not talking about a location, I'm talking about a spiritual location, is in this moment at this time. Whatever you experienced in the past as a loving or a failed love is over, right? It's over. Many people argue, yeah, I know what you're saying, it's over, it's in the past, I get it, I understand the now, I get it. And they still talk about what was. They know they're doing it, right? But they are so frustrated, so irritated that it didn't work out the way they want. Like the other evening, the Los Angeles Dodgers did not win the World Series. The Houston Astros won the World Series. The Dodgers were expected to win. They finished #1 in baseball. They had extremely high hopes. They expected everything to go their way, and they expected to be standing with their new rings after the new year out in LA and having a parade, and it didn't happen. And I assure you, there's not only the folks of the Los Angeles Dodgers team in the immediate vicinity of the team itself and all the guys attached to it, but all of the fans, all of the people that follow that club are devastated. They have invested so much of themselves in that it's left them down. The variation is, in baseball, you get another chance next year. And if next year, you get it the year after, or the year after, the year after, or the year after. That is commonly referred to as hope. But what it also is a projection of a mindset into the future saying, until we finally win that World Series, I'm going to be like this. I'm going to be like this. I'm not going to really be settled until we get that doggone World Series out. Right? And the people in Houston who are enduring the tragedies of all that flooding and everything are saying, hello, we finally have won the first time in our history. We are finally a world champion team. It came at the right time. We're dealing with all these other tragedies around us. And this has a sense of completion, which, by the way, will only last 1 year. That's it, unless they repeat next year, which is very difficult to do in any sport, but especially in baseball, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible, but it happens, but it's very rare, right? And now let's say they do it next year. The Houston Astros get another season, they win another World Series. Let's say they do. Then 24 months out, something will happen. A player quits, a guy gets hurt, the contract's over, and they move on, right? This is what happens. And then you feel incomplete again. Or you say, well, at least we were a world champion at one time. Thus the quote, better to have loved and lost than to have loved at all. A lot of people don't agree with that one. They say, I wish I never fell in love. It's been nothing but a nightmare. I'm sick to my stomach. I don't enjoy it. There's no part of my life that I really enjoyed. I thought I was in love. I was 18. I ran off with this guy, and it's been nothing but hell ever since. And, this guy's now in prison or something, and I'm completely devastated, and I don't trust anybody. I can't go out in the world. I can't put my feet in the water again. I don't trust any of these men. Or the guy says, I don't trust any of these women. They're all lying. They're all cheating. They're all doing this. They're all doing that. And you build up a barrier. And for someone to shatter that barrier, they have to prove themselves to you like a judge and jury that you have decided what they should become. And here we are once again in that loop of demanding love according to your rules. And love has nothing to do with any of that. Love, I've done this. I had a class that I just taught this past week on where this topic came up a little bit. And I asked a couple of the women, and there were men there, of course, too, but I went to the women. Why? Because they're the ones that birth their children, and the women that I talk to, many of them, not all, but, a percentage of them have children. They raise their children. And I look at the mother, and the daughter's sitting next to her. The daughter's, let's say, 30 years old, and the mother's, let's say, 55 or something. And I say to the mother, Mary, do you love your daughter, Ann? And she goes, well, of course I love my daughter, Ann. I love her with everything I had. I would die for my daughter. Very common comment. Very, very. They go right to the extreme. I will tell you how much I love her because I'm willing to kill myself or die for her. So you take it to the max, right? In the first 2 minutes, they're telling me they'll take it to the max, right? Okay, so I say to that mom, I say, listen, just explain to me that love feeling. Can you just kind of put it into some words for me? And they never can, nor can I. Because love is born past thought. True love, real love, comes from the psychic dimension. It does. It comes from a place where thought has not created it. It is pure unto itself. That is why I said before, some people like the words God is love, right? Just stay with me. I'm not talking about the concept of love of God. That's a concept. I'm talking about having a sense of every moment you sense deeply that you are an expression of life itself, and that life is living through you, that the love, quote unquote, that has created you is always present with you, right? This is known in certain circles of spiritual practice as an enlightened person, or a person who has achieved nirvana, or someone that has achieved salvation. They are completely free of the restrictions of thought that bind them to the ideas of love. Once you transcend the ideas of love, then the window opens and genuine love comes in. And the thing about genuine love, it never seeks to attach. Genuine love never attaches to anything. So going back to my children, which I was discussing a few moments ago, right, and I can tell you this straight up, I love my children very much. It is very, very pure, very, very genuine. As a social animal to another social animal, my kids are between 22 and 35. I got 4 of them in there. They're all adult men and women. You know, I don't teach them or treat them childishly. I treat them as adults. If they ask me my opinion about something, I'll say, this is what I think, this is what I don't think. You do what you think is best. Because I want to provide them the opportunity of the experience from which they will learn how to handle life, right? I'm not turning my back on them. I will assist them if it's called upon. Or if they go in over their head, like anyone, I'll put my hand in and yank them out of the water if it's necessary. Absolutely. There's no question about it. Because that is part of love. When you love something, you take care of it and you treasure it. But you don't possess it. You don't own it. To control it, to satisfy your demands and what you want and what you need, which is a form of performance. I want my daughter to graduate with law school, and if she doesn't do it, I will be so disappointed in her, and I'm going to remind her at dinner, remember, I got you through law school, don't you forget it, you owe us. Or what is commonly referred to, and this is just please don't get upset, what my friends call Jewish guilt. Hey, I took care of you since you were babies. I wiped your hiney when you were little, and now your mother's older and she's in a nursing home, and you're not bringing me the chicken soup that you promised. I'm so disappointed in my son. It's all done in good taste, as you well know. It's a tongue-in-cheek kind of a thing, but you guys can relate to it. There are millions of comedians, not millions, but quite a few comedians that even joke about that time growing up in that kind of a Jewish home. Right? And they have Irish guilt, you got Italian guilt, I got all versions of it. I get it. You understand me? Why is there guilt? Why inject guilt into someone that you love, which is injecting a harm? Why do it? What's the purpose does it serve? Because it minimizes them to keep them under your thumb. That's why. That's why. It makes them feel kind of an obligation to be with you because they feel guilty now, like, oh my God, all right, I gotta die. And it's overriding. And they're not coming out of a pure loving place for you. They're coming out of a forced love, a demanded love, a requirement love. That is not love. That is not love on any level. And that same thing happens with mates. It does. You guys know what I'm talking about. This is what I'm telling you here is nothing new. I'm just accenting it for you so you can see it. And this is what brings me into the second half of this conversation. So when people say, I can't fall in love with somebody, I haven't found love, what I really want you to do is ask yourself, what is the urgency of it? You might say, well, all my friends are married. They all have kids. I'm sick and tired of being in my apartment alone. I'm tired of taking cruises by myself. I'm always going with my girlfriends. I don't want to be the bridesmaid anymore. The guys might say, look at me. I'm not a particularly handsome man. You know, I'm very heavy in stature. I'm not that sharp. I don't make a lot of money. The girls walk right past me like I'm just a stone statue, like a gargoyle. I mean nothing to anybody. right? And I inject myself into situations where I know almost in a way going in, the bars, the restaurants, the clubs, all of that, in which they go into this illusionary make-believe environment fueled by drugs and alcohol and the endorphins and the whole sexual process and all of that, and who's got better looking than who, and who wants him and who wants her. It's maddening. And through all of that, many people believe they can find and filter out the right man or the right woman to create a full life with. What do you expect to have happen? Please don't tell me about the odd, rare case that it survived. Everything has got an odd, rare case. I'm talking about the standard, the norm, right? So the man, let's say, that's overweight, now looking, doesn't feel well about himself. When he looks in the mirror, he's turned off by it. He doesn't see his radiance. He doesn't see the light within him. He doesn't see the quality of human in him. He only sees what other people have condemned. And he says, you're right. I'm not worthy of it. And that goes, of course, for the female as well. So what you wind up doing is you wind up settling. And you wind up selling your soul sexually with all of the lust involved, all of that involved. That's not passion, by the way. Lust and passion are completely different things. Totally, totally different. Right? Passion is a movement of love itself. Lust is just a biological reaction. It's totally different. It's totally different. Right? That's for another night's chat. But for tonight, I just want you to see. So now someone has been in love with something. They love their job. They love their dog. They love their house. They love where they lived. They loved serving in the military. They loved it. They loved it. They loved it. And now it's time to retire. Right? Or they got hurt. Something happened and they got injured serving our country. And they said, well, we're sorry. We're going to give you an honorable discharge. And the guy or the gal says, I'm completely a Navy man. I'm 22 years here. What are you doing? I'm sorry, you can't stay. You can't stay. You gotta check out. You gotta put your papers in. You gotta go. And they never recover from it. They are so hooked into their image and their role and this idea that they, quote, loved, that they never have any independence as a human animal, as a human being. They perceive themselves through what they do, not what they are. Right? They see themselves by what they are doing or what they are getting, not by who they are internally, not by the beauty within inside of themselves. That is the part that really is unsettling. So when you're losing a love relationship, are you really losing a love relationship? Or is your illusion of the love relationship being shattered? And that is 99.9% of what occurs. The illusion of the relationship breaks. And one separates from the other because the fulfillment was not there. The expectations were not there. Now, for certain people, though, and you might be watching tonight, I don't know, they have a delusional love. They believe that the girl around the corner is madly in love with them. Completely. They say, that's my girlfriend. I love her. She's great. I love the way she looks at me. All of that. And then when you get a chance to talk to the girl, she says, I don't even know this guy. What is he talking about? Right? Delusional. People fall into the delusions of falling in love with actresses or actors on television or rock stars or politicians. They are in delusion, meaning that they are believing so much in the illusion, they don't even see it as an illusion anymore. They are deluded to the point that an absolute falseness, an absolute lie, an absolute violation, they want to still believe it's absolutely true. They don't care what you say. They say, don't talk to me like that. You're breaking my delusion. I believe this. And my safety is found in that. Don't you dare bring that up to me. You see? And that becomes a interruption, a violation once again. And that is why they feel that life has become such a struggle. Such a struggle. So I was mentioning a few moments back, there are two things that are required. First, one must really, really become attentive to this present moment. Because when love rises, when love is expressed, it can only be expressed in this one moment. Nowhere else. It cannot be expressed in the past. You can talk about maybe what you thought about. You cannot express it in the future, because that's just shooting forward an idea of what you hope may happen. Maybe tonight when I go out, I'll find Mr. Goodbar, I'll find Mr. Right, I'll find the right lady, I'll find the right guy. This is my big night, I can't wait. And you come home at 2 in the morning, dragging yourself through the front door with a couple of martinis, and you're saying, I hate men, I hate women, once again, I'm going through it. And then the rare woman comes in and says, I found him, I found him, I found him. And then a month later, she's all upset. So being present is the first rule. Second, and this is the big one, there is no attachment. There is no putting your hooks in. There is no putting your claws in. It requires a very mature, settled, deeply self-accepting presence, which includes non-judgment of the other. No judgment. No judgment. There's no opinions. That's formed by your thoughts. Love rises and it finds that which it's naturally attracted to. And there is no effort in any of that, like the mother bringing baby to her breast. It is spontaneous. It is life-living. It is lifelong. It doesn't require any work. Maintaining a physical phenomena relationship, that takes work. Yes, making formulas, making food, getting the baby, changing the diapers, of course. That's the mechanics of a human being, right? But I'm not referring to that. All of that is driven by the love of the mother for her child. And she's willing to, quote, sacrifice herself, her fun, her good times, all of that, for the love of the child. That is the same relationship one has when love is present, whether it was within the baby or whether it is in the senior citizen at the nursing home. When two have that, they stand side by side, like this, like my fingers, right? Sometimes, or they face each other face to face. Sometimes they go like this. Sometimes one is sick. Sometimes the other is sick. Sometimes they're both sick at the same time. Sometimes one is upset. Sometimes the other is upset. Sometimes they're both upset. But love always brings them back. It always brings them back. It is only when there is not true love that it snaps. And life itself shows up and says, I told you this was not love, and I let you find out for yourself. Thus, back to the quote. For those of you out there, would you rather have loved and lost, or never have loved at all? If you have truly loved somebody, you can never lose them, because the one thing that love does is it can never, ever, ever be extinguished. Ever. The physical form is extinguished. Other than that, there is nothing that you lose. Nothing. Do we weep and cry and have grief over the absence of the physical person? 100%. That's just being a human being. That's normal. That's just normal. And if you're not normal like that, and you resist it and make believe it's not happening, that's just a matter of denial, right? That's just a matter. When you love them really completely, totally, you accept the path of their soul, you accept the path, the journey of their heart and soul, you accept what has happened completely, you do not have any anger to them, you don't have not any possessiveness to them, you don't punish your life by saying without them I cannot be whole, I cannot be healed, I cannot be helped, I am just doomed to be in misery. That is not love on any shape, any form. That is not expressing love to people. You know, and we're getting towards the end of our evening here together, but there are people who have, in certain cultures and certain religions, who have deprived themselves of intimacy, who have, and I'm not trying to be graphic, back in the old ages, they actually removed their eyes, took out their tongues, because they felt anything that would draw them to a loving feeling other than God, they didn't want to be exposed to it. Complete madness. I mean, if that was today, they have them put away in a psychiatric facility. It was common for certain sects of people back in the old days to do that. I'm going back, way back now, of course, right? I mean, that's how dramatic people were to find this love. And love doesn't have to be found. It is what has created you. It is what has created your children, your family, the trees, the rocks, the birds, the sun, the stars. Love is God. God is love. It is us. You are it. You don't have to seek it. It's just your thinking mind that is seeking. Love doesn't seek. It doesn't need to seek. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a self-fulfilling statement. You fall in love with yourself completely by allowing you to be you as you are in this moment, without the fantasy of what you want to become, should become, didn't want to be, all of that stuff, guys. Just give it some thought, okay? All right, I'm just going to read a few quick announcements to you, and we'll be bringing our evening to a close, okay? Next time we'll be getting together is on Friday night, November the 17th. This is going to be kind of fun. It's going to be an open chat. It's going to be an open chat. And if you have time over the next couple of weeks, maybe throw in something you'd like me to discuss. Just drop me a message, let me know. Say, Rob, I want to talk about fear. I want to talk about moving from my house. Whatever it might be, we can discuss it together. I'll be very happy. I'll grab a few questions and we'll do it. This Monday night in my office, some of you have heard me speak about this over time. We have a thing called Circle of Spirits. This Monday night we have a Circle of Children. It's a very sensitive topic. This is a group of 6 people who get together, and I read each one of them about the loss of a child. If you have that kind of a loss and you'd like to come see me, just connect to my website. There'll be information about it. We've only got a few spots left for this Monday night. It's in my office in Merrick. So if you're a local, you have access to coming to see me, just give it some thought. It's called Circle of Children. That's this Monday night in Merrick at 7 o'clock. Then we also put on my Facebook and also on my, and don't forget, I'm on Facebook, I'm also on the website, right? And we have a little survey that's coming out. We have a survey that we do. It's put on the Facebook page just to give you guys a chance to help us. We're not asking for your name, any personal information, none of that stuff. It just asks, what topics would you like to see discussed on Facebook? What do you not like? What do you do like? When would you like to see it happen? It's maybe 5 or 6, 8, 10 comments, and you just quickly check it off, and it'll help me help you to find out exactly what you guys are looking for from me, and if I can be of any assistance, I'd be delighted to do it, either on Facebook on a daily basis, or when we get to visit on that chat night. It might be something you would enjoy. And for those of you, don't miss my my monthly newsletter. My monthly newsletter. You go to my website for that, and there's always some really cool stuff coming up. Workshops, personal appearances, other venues, other conversations like this. All right? So, from my heart to yours, I love you guys. I do. I'm not asking anything from you. Nothing. All I ask is that you receive this love tonight from me to you, from my family to yours. I wish you all peace and a great amount of love. Thank you again for being with me. Good night.